A tiny speck. That's all it was. That's all I am. It's all any of us are. An insignificant piece of coal dust thrown out by the passing Leeds to London train into my eye. Then it all changed, and now he's gone. I wonder, as he tends to his patients in South Africa, whether he thinks of me and loses his focus for a moment. I see him everywhere on my usual Thursday trips to Milford Town. Tables we sat, corners we parted. I'll see him in a gentleman's walk, the tilt of their hat, bits of us are everywhere. Part of me on a different continent. Love in a Mist was playing again at the Picture House. It was torture. Sat in the same place, crushing myself with the reality of the empty seat. If only parts of life could be done on repeat. I suppose that's what memories are for. I threw myself into Bobby's birthday preparations, distracting myself with incidentals. I left a little note for Betsy to open up the barley twist. I wanted to pay a visit to Pemberton's ice cream parlour, increase the order. As I reached for my hat, it dawned on me that this was the outfit I wore when we last met. Then, like a bolt of lightning had struck me, I thought, what if he's dead? What if his plane crashed? A car accident? Of course I wouldn't know. I wouldn't feel any different, would I? I held on to the thought that I would. I would know. There are times when we just know. And then I found it, caught on the coloured light pouring from the hall stained glass window. A hair. His hair. Not Freddie's, not fine, peppered grey. There are times we just know. Of course, it could have fallen from the antimacassar on the train, but it didn't. I changed clothes and caught the 12:32 to Milford. I'd pop into Pemberton's after the dry cleaners. Oh, I know you probably think me foolish. It didn't need a dry clean, but I felt like a criminal. As I handed it over to the assistant, "Collection next Thursday, usual price." I could have sworn she looked at me as if I was a little deranged. She could see it had only recently been cleaned. I began to feel rather discombobulated. Perhaps it was the beginning of one of my heads. So I quickly crossed over and took a table here at the little tea shop next to the library. It was a pleasant day, and people were milling around. The waitress insisted I move. "This is a table for 4 persons, madam. We're a small establishment, and so I have to insist. I can provide you with a perfectly suitable 2-person table. Are you expecting anyone?" I shook my head and moved, faltering by the cake display stand. The buns didn't look too fresh. The Mackenzie smelling salts roused me. The waitress knelt, stroking my arm. "Not to worry, madam. You've just had a bit of a funny turn. You do look rather drained, quite pasty, in fact. I'll get you a sweet cup of tea." I extracted myself from the situation as soon as I possibly could. She was a kind soul, but rather nosy. I was a puzzle she was trying to crack. "Come to mention it, yes, I have seen you before, now and again, through the window, crossing over from the library. I recognised the basket and the hat. You were with a chap. Yes, now I remember." I paid the bill and generously gave her a tip for looking after me. I insisted. She had been kind. If the tea room began to feel like it was not stretching her capabilities, perhaps the role of detective would suit. But then I imagine working with the public, one gets skilled at reading people, remembering the details. In an empty tobacco tin, rather beaten and scratched, behind the candles, fuse wire, and shoe polish box, is where I placed his hair. The smell of the shoe polish box, even with the lid tightly closed, made me a little nauseous. I cut the hair into shorter pieces. Don't ask me why. For a brief moment, I wanted to get rid of it all. I would eat it, I thought. Strange. What a strange thought, I thought. Strange. the ways which used to feel close. I left it in the tin on the top shelf, feeling deceitful with my little secret. It nourished my desire to feel separate from Freddie for a little longer. I could exist wholly and confidently without him. We had become different creatures with the demands of war. I had surprised myself. Bobby's party passed as planned. The puppet show involved lots of raucous shouting, which the children thoroughly enjoyed. I was fatigued, I told myself. I was pregnant. I knew myself. Dr. Connor congratulated me, said he couldn't wait to see Freddie at the club, wondered why we'd decided on another child after all my dreadful complications. It was time to tell Freddie. Freddie, do you remember the doctor that I met at the station canteen? Had a practice at the hospital. The kind man that got the piece of grit from my eye, with whom I went to the picture house with. Do you remember me mentioning him? I'm pregnant with his child. He's in South Africa now. So I'm assuming you have no opposition to raising the child as your own, do you? It's hake with Jersey Royals and asparagus for supper. I would have to lie. Forever. I couldn't put this in a tin behind the shoe polish. I told him. Not all, not everything, and a larger chunk of me moved away from him, locked away. A room that I only used. It was how it had to be. He trusted me implicitly. It was so easy to lie to him. He was overjoyed. As I sat watching the coal seams glow with a deep orange heat, Freddie reached out, holding my shoulder. "Thank you," he said. "Thank you for choosing me over everyone else." I held his hand. "Thank you for choosing me over Barbara Cutland at the dinner dance. I know she was your mother's favourite. Barbara Cutland didn't light up a room like you. Talking of lighting up." He took a battered tobacco tin from his pocket, reached for his pipe. "You don't mind if I know how you can be with your heads and smells, and no, I don't mind. I rather like the smell." It was the tin. I said nothing. He reached with his pipe, filling with a generous amount, pulling through the flame with his breath. I stood breaking the strands of smoke, inhaling. He would forever be with me, with us both.